It's fine. It is working out. If you can hear me on Facebook, say hey. Hey, Tanya. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we are unpacking tonight Mary J. Blige, my life story. I'm excited. Y'all know I'm all about, if you don't know me, I'm Latoya Watson, and I am all about connecting with your inner child, healing your inner child to really reach deep self-love. That is self-love goals is healing your inner child. I truly believe that. So when I'm gonna jump right in. When I first heard about this, I was like so excited because for so many reasons, bringing awareness of always, anytime a woman in the public eye is bringing awareness to self-love, to inner healing, all of that stuff, therapy, breaking the stigma, it's so important. I'm always excited about it, but I was even more excited because she was talking about inner child work, and I was like, wait, what? And for those of you who don't know, I did a challenge 1 month from today. Yeah, June 1st. I did a challenge, Evolving Your Inner Child. If you are interested in being a part of it, you can still join in. The replays will be available. Yeah, so I'm so excited. I have so many notes, so I am going to jump in because there's so much to unpack. There's so much to talk about. If you're hearing me on Facebook, say hey. I was having some technical difficulties. Instagram is pretty good. They're hearing me and seeing me okay, but let me know if on Facebook you can hear me and see me okay. And while y'all are doing that, I really want to applaud Mary J. Blige for her courage, for her vulnerability, for sharing her story with the world. You know, she didn't have to go into details about her healing journey and what she's been through. So I really, really first want to just applaud her. Show some love for Mary J. Blige. Like, show some virtual love, show some hearts, put some emojis in the comments because it truly is amazing, especially as a Black woman. I love to see it. I love to see it. I am here for it. Thank you, Tanya. So, and bear with me, y'all, tonight. I don't usually go live on different platforms, so you'll see me like looking over. It's a little different, but I'm gonna adjust. So yeah, I didn't see y'all show any virtual love for Mary J. Blige yet. I'm gonna wait. Okay, good. I see some on Facebook. What's going on Instagram? Hey, Sheila. Yeah, I just commend her. I commend anybody who is just so bold and raw and vulnerable with sharing her story and wanting, she talks about her mission is wanting to inspire other women to heal, to, love themselves. And yeah, I think she's so amazing. She truly is a queen. So I just wanted to jump in and just shout her out because I think what she's doing is amazing. And all right. Instagram, I'm still waiting for y'all to show Mary some virtual love. And if you're watching this on the replay, you can also show some virtual love. How are you? How are you doing? And if you're just joining in, share your favorite Mary J. Blige song. Share your favorite song. You know what was also interesting to me was, so she came out in 91 and I was in about first grade. Y'all can do the math. That's fine. And even when I got to be a teenager, I never really realized how much pain was in her music. And oh, that's okay. That's okay. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, I never realized how much pain was in her music. And when I think back though, like a lot of 90s R&B singers, women and men, a lot of the music was, kind of on that vibe, like love, don't walk away, like stay. Like those type of things. You have too many Mary J songs to name. I know. You got to share one. What was one of your top Mary J songs? I think one of my favorites was Share My World and My Everything. And when I was listening to that the other day, it was mind blowing to me. I was like, wow, I never realized. Of course, I was younger, but I never realized the meaning in that song, and really listening to the world, really listening to the words. And she's really like, kind of, the vibe is kind of like, stay with me, or, kind of begging. And I think she even talked about it in her movie. I think she mentioned how there was a level of desperation in her music, and I never really paid attention to that before. But yeah, Real Love. Yeah, I know there's so many good ones, so many good ones. um okay, so 25/8. I don't know that. What's that? I'm not sure what that is. Um, but yeah, and it truly is part of it. Also, listening to her story and the testimony, because she talks a lot about how, she, like, if it wasn't for God, she wouldn't have made it through, and from the suicidal thoughts and the really dark thoughts that she had during this album, My Life. And oh, that's from one of her newest albums. Yeah, I gotta check. I can't wait to check out her new album, because to see the transformation and her self-love growth and her healing journey in her music is really fascinating to me now, as I've been hearing more about her story. So I definitely have to check out her new album. Thanks for sharing that. But yeah, going back to it being a testimony, she really talks about, if it wasn't for God, she probably wouldn't have made it. And I truly, truly believe that God truly has his hand on her even now, because and just diving right into it, you can see the pain that still is within her. She's definitely been able to connect with her inner child, but she's still going through the really tough parts of healing the inner child. And so there's different phases. So the first phase is to connect with your inner child. And that's not always easy. And kudos to her again for doing this work on her own, because it doesn't appear, besides with God, because it doesn't appear that she had a therapist or she spoke to anyone. So she really did this work on her own. And writing, she talks about writing being so therapeutic for her. And I don't know how many of you guys use journaling or writing as a coping skill, but it definitely is a very therapeutic tool. And but where the difficult part is, as a professional looking in from the outside in, my guess is it was must have been very triggering for her every time she probably had to perform. Like, I'm sure there was very mixed emotions. Like, it was healing in a way to share and freeing, but also at the same time, I'm sure it was very triggering and rewounding her inner child. So rewounding your inner child is a term, and basically it's self-explanatory. What it looks like is your inner child is being hurt. And of course, this was not intentional, but because she was doing a lot of this work on her own, my guess is it wasn't. So you're kind of, when you're in like a trauma cycle, how the brain responds, you're kind of like this until you're able to reprocess. You're just kind of keep going in circles, and it's kind of like you may feel a brief moment of freedom, of peace, of inner peace, but then you go back and you're feeling hurt. Because you're not able to reprocess what happened. Because unfortunately, journaling can only take you so far. And I'm gonna be so real, like journaling can only take you so far. And so I talk a lot about connecting and healing your inner child because, again, I think that is the deep rooted work that we need to do, and that's what helped me. I had to go through my own healing process and heal my wounded inner child, and I didn't do it on my own. I worked with a professional because, again, I could only get so far doing the work on my own. But and please, as we're going along, if you have questions, please drop your questions. I did receive some questions that I'll talk about while we're going through this, and then I'll talk about at the end if I miss any. But so one of the questions that I did get that I'll bring up now as we're talking about connecting with our inner child is, so how do we even do that, right? How do we even do that? And one really straightforward tip that I will say, if you're having difficulties connecting with your inner child, because it's not always easy. Let me say that. Sometimes our inner child is like in hiding. And I know that may sound a little funny to some people, but sometimes our inner child is in hiding because of different experiences. Our inner child is not sure if it is safe, he or she is safe to come out, to really be present. So, and going back a little bit to what is the inner child? The inner child is basically like a sub personality type, which it's within us. And there was a part in the clip that I saw Mary said on the interview with Charlemagne the God. She mentioned that she's like, I don't think my inner child can hear me. And I want to say, your inner child can hear you. And if this video ever, if Mary ever happens to see this, I really want to tell you, your inner child can hear you. Even though you think she is the stubborn part of you or she was the mean part of you, she's within you. Our inner child is always a part of us. And so, for anyone who is, again, trying to connect with your inner child, if you feel it's difficult to do this, it may be more helpful to look at a picture of a younger self. Look at a younger photo of yourself and try to look and connect with her eyes. Really trying to do that. I've known many of my clients, and I've also done this when it felt difficult. And it can be difficult to connect with different age groups. So whether it's someone told me like their toddler self was easier than like their teenage self. You know, our teenage self goes through a lot. And I talk about this in the challenge. I touched upon this because many times the messaging that our teenage self was told, like, oh, whether we're being bad or we're being rebellious or there's all, it's difficult being a teenager, and we're sent all these mixed messages and we're trying to fit in and we're going through all these identity shifts. And I should probably move this plant before it gets knocked over. And so, yeah, sometimes, you know, we have to, connecting with the teenage self can be more difficult. And, you know, it really is a journey, because let me explain why the importance of connecting with the different ages is to help you accept yourself, all the different parts of you, all of your flaws, all of the mistakes that you've made, to really try to integrate these different parts and to forgive these different parts. I've been talking a lot. Please drop questions. Are you following? Give me some likes or hearts. Sometimes because I've been doing this work for so long, I've been a therapist for so long, sometimes I forget that, like, most people are like, what are you talking about, girl? Like, I don't get it. So please let me know if this is making sense, or if you need me to back up a little bit. Let me know. I'm going to take a drink of water. I am a talker. If you were in the challenge, you would have seen, like, we weren't even supposed to go so long some nights, and I just kept going because I just have so much information that I want to share, but I also don't want to overwhelm people. All right. So if this is making sense, drop a 1 in the chat for me. If you have questions, drop a 2 in the chat. If you're loving it, give me a heart. Okay. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. Okay. Good. Good. It's making sense. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you. Yeah, so the last part that I was just talking about is kind of, again, the importance of connecting with the different parts. And so going back to Mary, I could see first of all, I'm a crier, but second of all, I definitely cried the first time watching it. And I more shed some tears because I could still see the pain and the hurt in her eyes, and I could see, she's made so much growth, she has evolved so much, and yet there is still more healing to do. And I could also see, she still struggles with trust. And there was a message that she mentioned about, she felt like little girls weren't safe, like, in her environment, which makes sense, right? Because she went through so much. And many of us, whether watching or here today, have also gone through a lot. And so that is messaging that our inner child does believe, like, little girls are not made to feel safe. But I think the trust issues that she has also plays a role with why maybe she hasn't sought out, like, working with someone, or why she prefers to do this on her own. um Again, it's difficult because even though you're an adult, the younger part is really what shows up when it comes to our emotions, when it comes to creativity, when it comes to joy, when it comes to peace. The right side of the brain is where they say the inner child kind of more is connected to. And so even though we are adults, it is our inner child that's like, nah, I can't trust. Like, it's not our adult wisest part that is able to take over and say, nope, we can do this. No, it really is the inner child that's running the show when it comes to our emotions, vulnerability. Hey, if you're just joining in, we are unpacking Mary J. Blige story on her My Life album. I'm just going to, yeah, let me pause for a moment. Are you saying wow, Sheila, about how, hey, I hope, Kalandra, I was having some difficulties in the beginning. I hope it's a little bit better. I had to switch devices, but Sheila, are you saying wow to the fact that it's our inner child that's kind of running the show when it comes to our emotions? I'll pause for a moment. Cause yeah, oh, thank God. Yeah, yeah, the inner child shows up. Sometimes I think about, like, many of us are wounded inner child just walking around, like, and it shows. I've seen it in the workplace, like when people are acting out and they just, like, their emotions just get the best of them. The inner child most times is what is showing up. Um, it's very fascinating. And it's difficult for people to always understand that. So that's another part of first connecting with your inner child. You have to believe you have an inner child. So some people don't resonate with that, or they don't believe that they have an inner child, or they may not quite understand the concept. But it is very much a part of us. So yeah, sometimes what I see with my clients is I am talking to their inner child. Absolutely. It is not an adult wise part that is able to be rational. It can be very like emotional driven. Most times that's our inner child. But and feel free to ask questions as I'm going through. What age do you come into this awareness? What awareness of having an inner child? Calandra, I'm not sure if I'm understanding your question. Oh, okay. How do we teach others to identify it? Okay. I would say the best way is if I would say to start to just break down the concept of inner child. So, like I was saying before, the inner child is a subpersonality type that's always within us. And breaking that down a little bit further is so the actual definition, it talks about how they believe our inner child is connected to our emotions, our creativity, our peace, our joy. And so I don't know if you, sometimes I meet with people, and some of you may be able to relate to this, but people who it's very difficult to have emotion or to have affect. They sometimes just appear very like stoic or just very serious. Many times that is a sign that their inner child is wounded. When people, when it's very difficult to connect with emotions. So I kind of went on a tangent, Calandra. Let me go back. So teaching others to identify it can look like whether you're breaking it down to them in a rational way or actually showing them. So that can, different ways, like people learn differently, but if you show someone like a YouTube video of someone who isn't able to, I'm forgetting about my Instagram followers. If you show them like a YouTube video of somebody who's like really joyful or animated, and then someone who's like very serious, and they can't, like they're not doing this intentionally, that's just how they are, that's just how they show up, that can help to also explain to them what's going on. Okay, I'm hoping that makes sense. When will you do another inner child challenge? So, Sheila, I still have the replays. If you want to access it, it's still in my bio. So you'll be able to see all of the replays. I'm cutting down the replays because they're kind of long. And I know people may not want to sit there and watch like 40 minutes of a teaching. Because there's 7 nights. Yeah, there's 7 nights. The 8th night was just a brief like overview. There we go. Yeah, let me see. And to give an example also, going back to Mary, how, when she was saying she didn't feel good, she didn't feel great in her heart, she couldn't enjoy her success. Those are also things of like a wounded inner child. It really was heartbreaking. It was really, really heartbreaking. And I think it hit me on a different level because I grew up listening to her music, and it never occurred to me how much pain she was in. And I think that was the part why it hit me the way it did, because I was just like, wow, here she is, like, and I think, again, I was saying I was so young, but you do have this belief that people who, when you're younger, as adults, we all know people who are celebrities aren't always happy. But yeah, when I was younger, I thought like, oh, she must be happy, all this fame, and she's impacting all of these women's lives. And, but to see, yeah, to hear that was just like heartbreaking for me. Like, wow. I don't know if any of you guys watching it saw that part. And I know for some people it was kind of triggering, so people didn't really dive deep and watch the entire thing because it was a lot. What does that do to us or others that listen to roles pouring out of their pain? What does that? I think you're saying like listening to role models pouring out of their pain. Um, okay, listening to people. I I personally think it's difficult. So I've heard mixed messages about her story, her documentary. I heard some people were saying she shouldn't have done it yet because they felt like you could see how much pain she was still in, and that was, I think, heartbreaking for her fans to see. Like, even though she's evolved and made so much growth, like it sounds like she's not having suicidal thoughts anymore, thank God, but you could still see the pain. And I think I've heard different messages. Like some people are like, I wish she didn't like share this yet. So I think different people handle it differently. I think for me it was more eye opening, but I think also because I'm in this field, I'm able to, I can understand that. Like a lot of us walk around like we're all good, and deep down people are not good. I mean, I used to be there. I knew how to fake it so well, especially in my 20s. But now it's like, and when she was saying like success comes from the inside and self-love, it truly does. Let me see. There was some other questions. Mary got me through some bad breakups. Yes, a lot of people were saying that. Yeah, now I see why, because she was going through it too. Yeah. Yeah, Kalandra, it was heavy to watch. It was heavy to watch. And I think if her inner child was like repaired, I don't think it would have been so heavy to watch. I think she would have been able to show up in a different light. Um, so yeah, it was, because you could still see like her pain. Um, yeah, we have to continue to pray for her. I prayed for her that night when I saw it because I was just like, wow, wow. There was, let me just go to my notes really quick. One big messaging though that I also wanted to talk about is you are never too old to connect with and heal your inner child. That is such a big, big takeaway. You are never too old. I think she mentioned she's almost 50. And yeah, so because sometimes I meet with people and they think that they're too old, or like, oh, I don't remember my childhood. You don't have to remember your childhood. My childhood is also very I don't have the best memory. And I have been able to do the work. So I also want to share that to anyone who is thinking about it. I believe she will see herself as actually continue the healing process. Yes, absolutely. I believe she is going to continue. Absolutely. And I love that her and Taharji are close, because Taharji is a big advocate for therapy, counseling, and getting help. So I'm sure she'll continue, because I really believe her healing will be accelerated if she's able to talk with someone, talk things through. Yeah. And not allowing your environment to define you, especially if you're a younger person watching this. Do not allow your environment to define you. I mean, she talked about living in the projects and how it felt like prison, and that it. even though, she struggled and she went through so much different traumatic experiences, that did not stop her from really pushing forward and with her goals. So that's such a big takeaway, and I hope people take that away. I'm sorry, Instagram. I am not neglecting. If you're on Instagram, you have questions, please share. Um, let's see. I think I might have to watch some of the replays because I really want to begin to start with those. How does this begin with the conversation? Amber, are you thinking, how does one begin the conversations with your inner child, or connecting with her or healing her? Yeah, say more about that. Another takeaway, y'all, time is just flying by. Yeah, if you're on Instagram, somebody said no worries. Please share your questions if you have questions. Another big takeaway is we have all tried to escape from our pains and our wounds and our experiences, and it will come back if we do not deal with it. Like, woo! That was so evident for her when she talked about like still having flashbacks, and here she is, how old she is at being in her 40s. And what I see is like we can only cope and try different things for so long. And she talks about drugs and alcohol and relationships and so forth, just trying to and seeking that love. Oh my gosh, like when I listen to the songs don't even sound the same to me anymore because I'm just listening to it with such a different lens, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like the pain that she felt, and she so badly wanted this love from these men. And what she realized was the love was really within. She just wanted to like her. Like she said that, and I was just like, again, I think that was another part. I was in tears because you just felt like her pain. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Hey, if you're just joining in, yeah, the music sounds different. Yeah, I've been there also. And yeah. And I think, we can all probably on some levels connect to different pieces of her story. And I think that's also maybe why, it hits us the way it does. Um, but yeah, if we don't deal with our pains, our wounds, they will come back to like literally haunt us. Haunt us. It was just yeah, and I think she talked about, Amber, I'm going to go back to your question. I don't want to lose my train of thought. She talked about how the relationship with Casey like triggered some of the more darker thoughts. Um I think because I'm not sure if Casey was physically abusive to her or not. I don't want to missay that, but she was in a physically abusive relationship, and she talked about seeing her mom be physically abused. And the brain is just such a complex, it's so complex because oftentimes that does happen. If we see different types of abuse, we typically, because part of us learns, or we think that this is what love looks like, or we think it's healthy love, or like or real love. Um, yeah, it's so sad, those cycles. And for those of us who are watching, who are believers, or spiritual, it's like, or is it like generational cycles? Yeah, it's very complex. It's so much. let me go back to Amber's questions, and I'll pause if people have questions or comments about that. Um, okay. Oh, how to begin connecting with your inner child. Yeah, we settle to fill the voids. Yeah, I've been there. Yep. I think there's probably always a part of us that knows. Okay, Amber. Yeah, before you joined in, I was talking about sometimes our inner child is like in hiding or doesn't feel safe to come out. And so I was saying, one thing that can be helpful is looking at a younger picture and looking at different ages because sometimes it's easier to connect with different age groups. Another thing that I didn't mention before is watching. This is one of my watching favorite childhood movies can also help you connect with your inner child. Um, Playing childhood games, whether it's outside, inside. In the challenge, we talked a lot about double dutch, and I think the women were laughing at me because I was that girl who never learned how to play. I think I was like turning double, and nobody wanted me to play. um, Blowing bubbles, those different type of outdoor activities can be really, really helpful to connect with your inner child. Any other questions before we go on? Another takeaway, as we were talking about her relationships, just how a lot of what I see is our wounded inner child will continue to show up, especially if we are struggling. Signs that we have a wounded inner child is like codependency issues, or if we go through a lot of failed relationships. That is another sign because our first who we form attachment with as as a baby, as an infant, that attachment style will impact us for the rest of our lives. Now your attachment style can change. That's the good news. However, as children, I'm not sure why you're saying me too. um as children, though, typically they say our attachment style is like formed by like 5 or 6. And so until we get the awareness as adults to like work on it, so there's different type of attachment styles. I also talked about the challenge, like, so there's the main ones are like anxious avoidant, secure is the healthiest one, and then, oh boy, which one am I missing? I always forget this one. So there's anxious avoidant, secure, and I think disorganized. So yeah, based on the attachment or bond relationship that we have with our caregivers can impact us in relationships. Let me give you a concrete example. So if we had a parent who didn't always pick us up when we were crying, we may grow to be a little bit anxious avoidant. Or if they weren't always consistent when they tended to our needs, like if they weren't consistent with feeding us, for example, our bottle when we were an infant, that can also impact our attachment style, and that will show up in relationships. And what that can show up in relationship is sometimes if we're too clingy, or we fear this person may leave us deep down, or we fear this person may not really like us. If we I see some wows. Yeah, the attachment styles, look deeper into it. It's really, really eye-opening because it's just fascinating, but it makes sense because our inner child grows up. If we cannot trust the people who birthed us, as children, we're like, how can we trust the world? How can we trust the world if we can't trust our parents to tend to our basic needs, how can we trust anyone else? And so going back to Mary, it makes complete sense why she had trust issues. And even if it wasn't her mother, but the adults in her life, or she talked a lot about when her parents got a divorce and the father leaving. I think her inner child took it as like, my father is abandoning me, he's leaving me. So again, that attachment style, and it makes sense why she continued to seek love in relationships, because she really wanted, the love of herself, but also the love of a father and a male. Like, it's so deep. It's so deep. Let me see. Oh, on Instagram, people are saying they never learned how to play double dutch. Yeah, the attachment styles is really, I'm going to do more teachings about that, because I know in the challenge we didn't dive deep into that, and that really plays a role also with why sometimes we stay longer in unhealthy relationships, and like trauma bonding, and there's so much there. Yeah, but let's see. I'm trying to be mindful of your time. I just want to see if there was any other big takeaway. Again, I want to say it's never too late to connect with and heal your inner child, no matter how old you are. I've worked with people in their 60s. Like, it is truly never too late. Um, uh, okay, we talked about that. Another thing that I wanted to highlight is when she was talking about how she didn't realize how impactful her story is, and how unique and how impactful it is. And we all have stories, right? We all have stories. And I know it takes a lot of vulnerability, and we're not always ready to share that. But I just want to say, never underestimate the power of your story. And I used to do that all the time. I used to say, nobody cares about my story. Like, it's not going to impact anybody. And yeah, that all lies, all critical thoughts, negative self-talk, even one person, if you're able to impact even one person with your story, it is worth sharing, because that one person, that one soul matters. Let me stop before I start preaching on here. Um, Let's see. Another thing that I wanted to share is we don't have to struggle alone. She talked a little bit about that, like feeling like you're alone. And even if you have God, still reach out for people. We need community. We're not meant to do life alone. I really, really want to encourage people. I know people go through different experiences and don't always feel comfortable to reach out to someone. But I hope and believe, and if you don't have healthy people in your life, or you don't have safe people that you feel like supported by, be intentional and pray about that. Really, really. Because I really believe we're not meant to do life alone. So those are like my big high level takeaways. Let me know if you have any questions about this stuff. It's so much the inner child, and but again, I'm so happy that she's bringing more awareness about this, because even for me, what I realized, like basic talk therapy, and no shade to that, it just wasn't what I needed to really heal like the deeper rooted issues, the shame that I used to walk around with. My inner child felt so much shame from having my son at a young age. And inner child work was what really transformed me. I really needed to heal that wounded part of me and to connect with her and to accept her and love her and embrace her and be like, girl, you the real MVP. Like, do you see everything that you overcame? Like, literally, I had to do that. I had to talk to her like that, to really connect with her, because for so long she was walking around feeling so much shame, so much shame. Even as I was like getting degrees or working on different things, there was a part of me that still felt, and that was her. There was a part of me that still felt so much shame. So let me know if you have other questions. Oh, and oh, I have to say this. The whole overachiever, people pleasing, all of that, I think is deeply, deeply connected with a wounded inner child. Because those are the ages that we learn these things, you know? We're taught sometimes, even when we're, thank you, Sheila. Thank you. I appreciate you. Um, we're taught when we're younger, like in some families, it's kind of frowned upon to say no, or we feel this need to say yes. And so sometimes those things, and I'm not blaming the parents or the caretakers, because sometimes as children we just internalize things differently. So, and that's the other thing with inner child work. It's not about like placing the blame. It really is just about connecting with your inner child and reparenting her. So, who's reparenting her? We are, like, or him, if any guys are watching, um, because we the that's the key to the work, is our adult parts need to show up and reparent our younger parts, and we need to almost in a way like earn their trust. And it's because if we don't reparent them, who will? Nobody can. Again, it's connected with the self-love. Nobody can do it like how we can. And so I even tell my clients, like, I will speak to the inner child, and I'm modeling for you because your inner child needs to hear you. That really is the key to the work. I'm just guiding you through the process. Let me say, hey Instagram. On a side note, I told my Instagram followers, listen, I'm so old school. I've been on Facebook since it first came out, when it was just for college students. And so I don't typically use my Instagram, but I'm trying to be more consistent with that. So I appreciate y'all showing me some grace. But let me know if y'all have any questions. I am believing that everyone who's watching this, every woman and man, will be able to connect with their inner child and eventually will heal their inner child. But the first step really is connecting, connecting, connecting. So challenge yourself to watching an animated childhood movie, or playing a childhood game, inside, outside. Um, there was someone in the challenge who talked about playing in the rain. And maybe I'll do that one day, or even like splashing in puddles. Doing really playful things can also help connect with her or him. Looking at younger pictures of yourself. We're always, and it's not a destination. We're always evolving. I'm still working on connecting with my inner child. She's not wounded anymore, but there's still different parts of her that I'm trying to connect with on a deeper level. I'll share more about that another time. And if you're watching this on the replay, feel free to drop your questions and I'll come back and answer. I hope this is making sense. If you have any questions, there are no dumb questions. Again, sometimes I forget I need to break things down, because people are like, girl, what you talking about? We don't know what you're talking about. So please don't hold back if you have questions. And I also want to share, so I shared with the participants of the challenge, I'm going to be doing a group coaching program specifically for people who want to dive deeper and really heal their wounded inner child and doing the reparenting stuff. So if you're interested, let me know, send me a DM. I'll talk more with you about it. I have to say, it is a commitment because you need to be invested in this work and you have to show up for yourself on a weekly basis. I know it can be challenging, but I really strive to, when I do this work, I really strive to ensure people are not like triggered and people are able to do it with ease, with comfort, with joy, because it's it's difficult and I never want to leave people feeling worse than how they came, if that makes sense. So I don't know where y'all are, but it's raining in Connecticut on this rainy evening. I hope y'all are able to have a soothing night, a peaceful night. I know some people enjoy listening to the rain, and I hope I just hope that you're able to have a peaceful night. My my Instagram is like, I think my phone is going dead. All right, y'all. Okay, again, drop any questions if you have. I applaud y'all for showing up. Again, let's show some love to Mary J. Blige and being so vulnerable and sharing her story with the world and with millions and millions of people. Show some virtual love for Mary J. and keep her in your prayers. This work is not easy. I really, really believe, though, that she is going to continue to just evolve and bloom and heal. All right, ladies. I don't know if any men were watching, but ladies and gentlemen, have an amazing, amazing night. God bless y'all.